Ethereum in price discovery, Bitcoin knocking on the door, and I am severely sleep deprived. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, and hey, I'm on the wrong page right now. If you can't tell that I'm already fucked up in the early morning hours, well, it's because I haven't had a great night's sleep last night, as I am preparing to take a little bit of a trip today, so the airplane indicator is perhaps going to be tested once again. If you're not familiar with that, it has, well, let's just let it be and maybe not try to jinx it. Anyways, with that said, I would like to wish you the best, and the happiest, and we actually have plenty to talk about today. This video will have to be a little bit on the shorter side, as I actually do need to get to a plane in just a few hours here, so with that said, into the Krown Chain application we go, of which you can grab your own free account at app.krownchain.net. And with that in mind, what do we want to focus on right now? Oh, we want to focus on so many things. First and foremost, Bitcoin dominance right on over here, coming down another 0.5% almost from 62 to about 61.5 now. And ultimately, we have seen the altcoin market led essentially by Ethereum kind of take over for the time being, as Ethereum does enter into, well, new all-time high territory, aka price discovery, and it is dragging up the altcoin market with it. Bitcoin, on the other hand, just still consolidating below its prior all-time high, which is still more or less healthy. But as long as that is going on, as long as we see that is going to play into the rotational narrative of this market, which is a good thing, which does speak towards the potential long-term health of this, and that is still a topic of consideration until it's not, of which I've been repeating like a fucking parrot for months now. Other than that, what do we see with the fear and greed index popping up a couple points as well to an 80, and what else? Yes, open interest popping up a little bit more as well for Bitcoin specifically, above 5.5 billion now, as we have seen it steadily rise from about 4.5 billion when Bitcoin was testing the $30,000 downside range, now popping up as price action does reclaim and essentially consolidate, playing into the reaccumulation narrative as long as Bitcoin's above that $30,000 pivot essentially. So into the market data tab we go. I want to see what this looks like in a graphical format, and hey, whoa, this already changed. What's going on here? This is the open interest global funding rate, and we've actually overlaid it with a few other things, as you can see. But as we are right now, oh wow, yeah, we have all three different paints right here. Hey, this is new. I wasn't told about this. Well, no, it's all good. Anyways, more importantly with this, we do see, yes, steadily rising with price action, as you can see right here, open interest going up. And what is this down here? This is the funny rate down here, actually, which is rather interesting because we don't really see it, getting towards any major, pivotal point that typically does denote, a reversal in a lot of cases. So let's actually go through the minutiae right here. Yeah, actually, the open interest really rising up rather rapidly now. Jesus Christ, man, I was not expecting that. But overall, that is a good sign. And again, that would be your signal of reaccumulation. Again, along with the volume signature and along with the price action signature. On top of that, we do see that where's my funding rates? Funding rates. There we go. There it is. Actually, do we have it on? Yes, we do have it by exchange. Yes, still FTX, still the odd man out at 0.144%. So that is above the threshold. However, that is the only one buy bit a little bit close to it right now at 0.09%. However, everything else is steadily below. So with that in mind, I don't think that this is a major consideration just yet. What I really want to see is I want to see 3 exchanges or more above the 0.1% threshold, and that is typically when we do see, it's very, very cautionary times for putting in local highs. Doesn't necessarily call a full-on reversal all the time, as you saw at the $40,000 level, for example, but that did produce a pretty nasty pullback here of about 30% from top to bottom. Anyways, with all of that said, I know that I'm missing a few announcements right now because I have to rush through this one, but into the price action charts we go. And here we go. Starting off with Mr. Ethereum today, as he is leading the market, and I do think that it deserves a spotlight for a little bit longer. And I would be holding on to the same things that I said yesterday, actually, as we did see the breakout fall through. On top of that, breakout is so far so good. And on top of that, we do see that it is trending above the topside Toronto band, of which the current topside is coming in around 1620-ish region, actually just a couple ticks below there. And I am looking for this to continue onwards and upwards as long as that condition is met. That condition being closed above the topside Toronto band, of which we had a very girthy close yesterday. So I do look for continuation first and foremost, and we actually have hit our pattern target if you are looking at this as an ascending triangle right here, right at the 2-spot extension on the fibs, as you can see, right around the $1,700 level, albeit I don't think that this produces anything more than just a short-term pullback. And, if I had to call it right now, does Ethereum pull back to like $1,600 base? Probably yes. What else also be looking at that as an opportunity? Probably yes. Is this financial advice? Probably not. No, it's definitely not. Of course not. It's never financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is the furthest thing from it, actually. Anyways, with that in mind, of course, that also would imply that on the other side of Bitcoin, or sorry, not Bitcoin, but Ethereum, if it were to close below the topside Toronto band, then perhaps we are looking at a little bit of a local high for now, and we could target down a move towards the 414 in the low $1,500 region. Now, am I looking for that to happen? No, but that would be the trigger for a change in bias here. On top of that, as far as momentum oscillators go, we do see a lot of good things going on right now. Daily MACD popping back up and looking good. More importantly, as that does come alongside a break of structure and our prior all-time high right there as well, and more importantly, trending above what is a volatility-based indicator right here as well. So all of that very, very good. This is accompanied by a very strong DMI ADX signal right here. DMI plus is very much dominant. ADX is strengthening. So all of the things that we were looking for to kind of signal a move over the last week and a half have, well, happened within the last couple of days. So if you've been watching these videos, have been tuning into this content for that time, you can kind of see how, these things bake in for a while. And, it seemed like every day and, every day that Ethereum or Bitcoin had a down move like this within the context of consolidation, everyone gets super bearish, and vice versa to the upside right here. At the end of the day, this is just consolidation, and this is what I really want to show right here, because these things do take their time, and this is typically how it does kind of extrapolate. This is actually a pretty damn good one right here, to be fair. So a really good case study. Anyways, going over to the 2-day and 3-day, I'm curious, did we close one last night? Yes, indeed we did. What is the 2-day looking like right now? Not trending above the topside Toronto band. So what I would say on this next closure, which is not going to be tonight, but tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so that'd be Friday. If it does close above the top side once again, which is just above 1,700, we'll call, then I would be looking for this to ultimately trend up towards the $2,000 region. This would really start to initiate a more aggressive price discovery, we'll call it, coming into next week, especially with a Friday closure like this, or sorry, above the top side as it is. Same thing on the DMI ADX and MACD, not necessarily the same as the daily, but just kind of taking off once again. Just doesn't want to go down now, does it? 3-day, what do we see over here? Same sort of DMI ADX signal baking. However, a little bit, the ADX is in a different posture, of course, but more importantly, or most importantly right now, the weekly. The weekly is really the one that I'm going to be looking for to set the tone for the majority of February, at least these like next week or two. And that is, does Ethereum close above the topside Toronto band? Now, of course, this is going to be coming in on Sunday closure at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And if that condition is met, then yes, I'd be looking for next week and the week after that, likely to print some new all-time highs. And of course, that does come alongside an Ethereum major event coming on Monday, I believe it is, for CMA Futures debut, as that is going to be February 8th, at least according to my calendar, as I double check over here. Wait a second. Yeah, it is February 8th, actually. That seemed wrong, but yeah, there we go. And typically speaking, I would be looking for a little bit of dramas around that time. I will not be interested in trading around that time myself, because I am a little bit concerned about the outside market dynamics. But long-term positions, more or less fine with. However, it will be, have to look at like the long-term pivots if I do want to manage those. Anyways, that's more self-talk right there. Most importantly for this, as long as the weekly close above this level right here, yes, I am looking for this one to continue into next week. Do we get a sell-off maybe a day before or a day after or a couple days after the actual event itself? Usually yes. However, because this market is still in rotations, I do think that it's possible for other ones to kind of pick up the slack and keep the old scam going, huh? No. Jokes, of course. Anyways, what I mean by that is we could see Bitcoin maybe take the reins for a bit after that, break out to new all-time highs, and carry the rest of the market with it, while Ethereum kind of maybe consolidates at a lower level. That's essentially what I'm looking for. Speaking of Bitcoin, should we go on over here? Yes, indeed we should, as Bitcoin did hit our 37,500 target from a day and a half ago. Almost took out our last weekly high, or did we? No, we did. No, okay, no, we did not actually. No, we did not. Okay, so this is stamped. Let me just go check. Mexico did not as well. Yeah, came about $300 short. It is looking good here nonetheless, I should say. But the main thing that I want to kind of follow up on this was, of course, the monthly, of which we did get a new tick just a few days ago, and the monthly did retain a positive slope on the accumulation distribution indicator. Man, I'm slurring my words, and I'm like only down a couple hours of sleep. This is how bad not getting enough sleep is for myself. It's almost as if the day is just completely fucked. But yes, looking at this right here, as we go to a more long-term chart, we have seen that the slope of this just changing has called almost all macro pivots in Bitcoin's history, the illustrious 11-year history of Bitcoin, that is. And as you can see, even just the last few ones doing extremely well, calling the phase shift in May 2020. That was right after coronavirus dump times, before Bitcoin went from about 8,500 to, well, where we are right now, just below 40,000 bucks. And before that, we saw a bit of a phase shift right here in January 2020. That was precipitating the massive coronavirus dump-ola from about 10,000 bucks to 4,000 bucks right here. Before that, we saw a bit of a phase shift over here in January 2019. That was precipitating the 3,000 more like to $14,000 rally just a few months later, looking pretty damn good. And then, of course, before that, we saw a phase shift in March 2018. That was right here on the bull trap, about 12,000 bucks before ultimately going down to 3,000 bucks. Yes, can test this on further scenarios than that, but my point is that because this did retain a positive slope coming into this month of February, I look at this as more or less fine, and I have a bullish bias, especially as long as the monthly is trending above the topside Toronto band, of which you have a classic just retest and go, just as we did last month. And this has been the case for 1, 2, 3, 4, now working on month number 5. So I look for that to continue until it essentially doesn't. But as you can see, you know, there's always gonna be someone, oh, well, that's very helpful. It's like, well, actually it is, because you know, you usually get this, and then yes, at the last one it will close below, and then reversal, and well, then you change your fucking bias. Nothing's a guaranteed in trading or technical analysis. You can't have that. It's a you know, there is randomness, and with that in mind, you do need to account for those sorts of situations, which can and certainly will happen. Anyways, looking at this over here, DMI ADX, you know, still more or less okay. Although a little bit aggressive there. Same thing with MACD histogram. I mean, we are like this is like just insane. But can always go a little bit more. I'm really looking for to get that off color on the MACD histogram right here to denote a bit of a phase shift as well. That accompanied with the accumulation distribution indicator slope change has called just about all the macro moves in the past. Maybe not exactly to the T. You know, the MACD is going to be a little more aggressive with that, but going to give a few more false signals, whereas the accumulation distribution indicator kind of vice versa on that. However, when you combine them together, if they're both firing off a signal in the same direction, usually pretty damn good. So with that in mind, well, fine for now, you might say. Anyways, into our regular charts we go now, and what are we looking at on the lower term time frames for Bitcoin specifically? Looks like we found a little bit of a short term time frame high, as Bitcoin does to retest this horizontal right here, coming in from our highs in early to middle of January, it looks like. And what I'd be looking for a short term pullback based upon that? Likely yes. We do see momentum oscillators turning down here on the short term time frames, but I want to say at the outset that I'm not super gung-ho about the short term time frames right now. It's the higher term time frames that I think are taking over, and while I would be looking for probably a pullback here, you know, well, first off, would I be trading that myself? Fuck no. I'm really only interested in trading the medium and higher term time frames right now on Bitcoin. However, I do think that it's very likely to get picked up and marched back on up to the upside. Looking at 4-hour stokes, they will naturally close to the downside with any sort of a closure below 38,000 bucks. What do we see on 4-hour RSI? Still looking more or less healthy, so that does tell me that pullbacks are likely to get bought back on up. Whereas, do we see anything else of particular interest? 4-hour Jewel just getting up there, but not really a signal in any way, shape, or form. What about 3-hour right here? Same thing. 37,800 is a magical number for 3-hour Stokes. 3-hour RSI, same thing as well. Constructive. However, short-term downside is likely implied right here. And HVP, very, 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 very low right now. So it is an expansive posturing, of which, you know, could we come back down and test like 36,000 bucks or even 35,000 bucks very easily. But again, I would be looking at that as an opportunity, at least on the first pass, for at the very least a fucking bounce. What about buy hourly right here? 38,371 is the magical number on this one. So you can see them all kind of, you know, around the same area right now. Same thing on buy hourly RSI, literally the same fucking thing. Short-term downside is implied, but ultimately this is a very good read over the past week on the buy hourly. And again, expansive volatility down here. So I would be looking for short-term down, and then it likely to get picked up. Hourly, literally same fucking thing. Same goddamn thing. 38,200 would be the magical number right here. And by the way, hourly does have a nice trend line coming in around this region, around the edge of the bullish control zone, which actually has been working incredibly well. Usually I don't call those out on the hourly, but sometimes, sometimes it just seems to work. Same thing on the hourly RSI as well. So all lower term timeframes are in concert once again. What does that align with? Likely a little bit of a short-term pullback here. If I had to call it, $36,000 certainly not out of the question. $35,000 not even out of the question either. But I'd be looking at those as opportunities. I do not change, and here's the main thing. I do not change my opinion on Bitcoin as far as the medium and higher term time frame direction go, or even just even scratch the higher term time frame, just the medium term time frame direction goes and short term time frame direction goes, as long as Bitcoin is above this pivot, the 34,500 pivot that Bitcoin broke out from 2 days ago actually, of which this kind of denotes the accumulation zone for this whole formation at large. So with all of that in mind, with all of that in mind, kind of wrapping those thoughts up, short-term pullback likely. However, I do think that gets picked back on up, and probably we see Bitcoin around 40,000 or higher in the next week or two, assuming that Ethereum kind of keep it up right now. However, when we go over to the medium-term timeframes, this is why I do still kind of retain a bit of a bullish bias here. We do see that 12-hour Stokes are going to remain nice and naturally angled to the upside as long as we're closing above $35,000, and officially back in the bullish control zone as well. And technically speaking, have we closed on new highs here? I believe we have actually. 37,363 is our last high. 37,700 closing high right here. Not super forthright with, or sorry, not super what's the word that I'm looking for? Fuck, my English, not very good right now. You know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that it's not like a super impressive close above, but I do think that it does hold its weight in this case. And while, yeah, again, very likely does retrace a little bit here on the lower term timeframes, I still like that 12-hour RSI. Probably does come back down and test the exponential on that. And I'd be looking for a bit of a bouncy bounce there. Looking at the daily, what do we have here? Looking more or less fine. I don't see any issues with this. Again, coming back down to $36,000 would be completely fine on this chart. Doesn't even does not destroy structure at all. And daily momentum also remain pointed northwards as long as above 34,420. So looking good right there. Daily RSI, very, very nice as well. Reaching for the bullish control zone once again. Usually your first test on this is going to get pushed back a little bit, playing into the short-term pullback narrative. However, after that, I'd be looking for it to get picked up once again. Very constructive read over the long period of time and march back into the bullish control zone. If that happens, that likely is accompanied by price action making its way towards $40,000 if I had to guess. Moving on to the 2-day, we just closed this one last night. I think the 2-day kind of tells all, looking really, really good here. Again, wouldn't be out of the ordinary to come back down and test anywhere around the 10 simple here. That would be, in my opinion, a strong opportunity, especially with the 2-day RSI accompanied by hidden bullish divergence back into the bullish control zone, also above the exponential. All very good things. And on top of that, we do see that the 2-day Stokes rejecting the bearish control zone and also crossing up as long as we're closing above $33,000 and 33,100 about. So all of this looks good for me. If I did have to call it right now, yes, I do think that Bitcoin does pop back up, test around the prior all-time high, and probably makes new all-time highs in the weeks to come. Can take its time, obviously, but all higher term timeframes are looking more or less fine here. 3-day RSI, same thing, playing out the hidden bullish divergence. 3-day Stokes actually having a fresh cross the upside, or sorry, no, they're not having a fresh cross the upside. Are we closing this one today? We're not. Actually, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So a lot to go between now and then, obviously. But if we do see a closure above 35,750, I'd feel quite confident looking for next week to print, well, at the very least, a retest of the prior all-time high and probably new all-time highs, if I had to guess. I'll be snowboarding and try not to break my fucking shit up. But yeah, looking at this right here, more or less, looking at this whole formation right here at large, still fine, still good, still an uptrend. I don't see anything wrong with it. This is very obviously reaccumulation, as we identified. What was this? Yeah, in late January. Became very, very obvious right there. And now just playing that out. What about the weekly? Do we see anything of particular interest on the weekly? Based off the 10 simple, not bad. Weekly RSI, could put in a head and shoulders there, although I'd want to see it first. Not necessarily there just yet. And what about weekly momentum oscillators? So we do see this regression coming in from our October lows of 2019, actually. So this is going a couple years back here. And this would be getting some pretty damn major ones. I'm talking about actually like all major lows that we've seen within this last little section right here, like right here, this is a start right here. So this major low before this major pump, then we got the coronavirus dump lows right here, then we got the 10,350 reaccumulation right here, and then and then another one, yeah, sorry. That is the 10,350. Yep, okay. And then we go over here, and this would be around the $30,000 level. So over time, momentum is clearly building to the upside on increasing historical volatility percentile, which does suggest what? Expansion in that same direction. So all of that, all of that looking good for the long term for myself. I also do want to talk about this here for a second as well. I do typically save these for the weekend videos, but I'll probably be making shorter videos while I'm away and don't have access to my main tools. But in this case, we already have seen about a 30% move to the downside from Bitcoin top to bottom within this range. Actually, more than that, 32.75 to be exact. Now, in Bitcoin's history, we typically do see something relatively similar to that, actually. In the past prior bull runs, you can see that all these bull runs were, accompanied by some pretty severe downside displeasures, we'll call them. Yeah. And we can go back all the way to 2015, of which there were several examples where we had about, as you can see, about a 33% drop down right there. After that, we play out another drop down over here, about 26.33. Not bad. Definitely within the context of that. Over here, about 34.5% top to bottom. Over here, about 32.33 from top to bottom. Over here, we got about 35 top to bottom. Over here, we got another about 30-ish, just above 30. So I think you know where I'm going with this. And more importantly, is our current pullback within the context of general Bitcoin bull markets from a macro bullish perspective? Like, is that relevant? Yes, I'd say so. Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, we don't really have too many iterations other than those two. And then actually this market over here, another 37.5% pullback right there. And over here on this, this was all the way back in 2012, just below 40%. So all kind of around 30 to 40% for the most part. And in this case, as we've seen, we've already done a little bit over 30%, 32%, and some odd change to be exact. So I do think that it is relevant to think that, we have probably seen we've probably seen the extent to the consolidation. Could Bitcoin come back down and test 30,000 or 30,500 pivot again to the downside? Yeah, it's certainly possible. Absolutely. But I don't change my mind on the long term as far as trading goes until we see something very obvious, which would be one of two things: either a 4-hour closure on new lows. So that would be a 4-hour closure below about 30,300, or a daily closure on new lows as well, or if you're just using the 55 right here, pretty much the same shit anyways, as that would be coming in around about 30,500-ish region. So if one of those two conditions were met, yes, I'd be happy to switch around from bullish to bearish on the higher term timeframes, and I would be looking for a move all the way down to, at the very least, 23,000 to 24,000 bucks right here. That would still be very much viable. And is that the main thing that I think is going to happen within this formation? No, but as it stands, if Bitcoin were to fulfill that criteria, that is how my trading behaviors would change. That is how my biases would change as well. Or I guess they're one and the same, really. Anyways, as it stands right now, what about the upside? What about the upside, though, Krown? Why are we talking about targets to fucking 200,000 billion? Well, because my O-face ain't fucking ready at this time in the morning. How about that? So first and foremost, what would denote an actual breakout of the tops of the range here? So a couple ways of doing this and a couple ways of looking at this, and some more aggressive than others. In this case, the most aggressive way that I do think would actually probably work in this case would be taking out the Elon Musk pump OLA on the 29th of January. So I believe this was last Friday, and the high of that was about 38,730. Any sort of a tick above there, and yes, I would be, it's a more aggressive way of looking at it, but extremely likely we'd at the very least pop back up and test around 40 to 41,000 bucks. At that point, does this just resolve to the upside and make new all-time highs and follow Ethereum? Probably yes, it does. But you technically want to see a closure on new highs as well. In this case, woe denote a closure on new highs. Well, I would say even a closure above this swing high right here at about 39,100 would do it for me. Extremely conservative people will wait for 40,650 right here on this high, but I don't think that that's necessary in this case, especially with the way that the general market dynamics are working right now. So with all that in mind, assuming that those conditions were met, the next major targets as far as algo targets are going to be the 414 right here, not necessarily the one spot 272, although it typically will get a short-term pullback. It's a 414 that typically does play off, and then we see a bit of consolidation right there, and then ultimately that's when I do become a little bit more of a Bitcoin boolah, I guess, or at least the more like O-faced boolah, to that whole shit again, above $50,000. You know, real target would be anywhere between about 56 to 58,000 bucks at that point. And well, I mean, well, that it is what it is. It is what it is. Enjoy it, man. It feels like a guilty pleasure still with Bitcoin. I mean, I consider Bitcoin's already on the fucking moon. Like, people say Bitcoin's going to the moon. What are you talking about? We're on the fucking moon. We went from 10,000 to 40,000 over the last few months with basically no pullbacks. I mean, this doesn't even really count right here, because on a daily it's just straight up, just straight fucking up, just straight fucking up, man. So again, I think that's rather interesting. Anyways, do we want to check out Ethereum here too while we're perusing? I don't think that there's much different here that already hasn't been said on the other charts. Daily RSI looking really good, playing out hidden bullish divergence. Daily Stokes looking very good as well, doing the same thing as long as about 1569. So that would be a good pivot for a daily closure. If Ethereum does close below there, I would be looking for a retracement, probably to retest the breakout level just below 1,500 bucks. But again, you know, that condition needs to be met first. What about in the very low term time frames, like a 4 hour? Still looking like it's charging up a bit. I would be looking for some sort of divergence on the lower term timeframes to get the next pullback, and natural target would actually be that like 1570 to 1580-ish region that we just highlighted on the daily for the in comparison to the short term, that is. Anyways, moving on, let's see what regular markets are doing. At NASDAQ, are we seeing a bit of a pullback that we spoke about yesterday? Yes, indeed we are. Nice one. Did we hit the target that we spoke about yesterday at 13,400? Yes, indeed we did. Exactly as prederped. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Do I think it comes a little bit lower here? Yeah, I think it's going to come back down and test around the 10 symbol, but ultimately I would be looking for a bounce there. That is 13,300-ish region, and daily Stokes will remain to the upside posture as long as we close the daily above 13,120. So again, you know, kind of like a meticulous thing here, but short term, yes, a little bit more downside, probably does test down 13,300. I would be looking for a bounce there though, to be very direct. Looking at hourly Stokes, yeah, crossing back up above 13,375, which actually we're out right now. Very interesting. So a little bit lower, bounce, and then we'll see what the daily does. Now, of course, what would happen if the daily actually just shoots through this level, that being the 13,300-ish region, or sorry, not even the daily, but even an hourly. Yeah, what if the hourly closed below 13,300? That would be a bias change for me as well, and I would be looking for a greater move, a greater pullback, you could say, maybe even all the way back down, or we'll certainly back down about 13,200-ish region, but potentially coming into next week all the way back down to $13,000 base. I don't have a strong opinion on that right now, and like I said, I'm going to be a bit out of my own devices coming into this weekend, as I won't be at my main battle station. I'll just have my laptop with me, but I'll try to keep an eye on it as much as I can, I guess. E-mini futures for SPY. What do we see here? Yep, short term down. We didn't hit our downside target just yet. Actually, I said 3,800-ish region, of which we are just hovering above right now. I do think that it does come down a little bit lower. Do we play at a bounce there? Probably a little bit lower. Yeah, about a little bit lower than 3,800 bucks. Same sort of thing implied here as well. We do see that daily Stokes have a chance to cross the upside with any sort of closure above 3720, which is actually looking rather likely right now. Yeah, I'd be looking for a bounce anywhere between the 10 simple and the 21 exponential average right here, about a $10 range. So fair enough, not bad. And playing out some hidden bullish divergence down here as well. So ultimately, while I would be looking for a little bit of short-term downside, I would also be looking simultaneously for that to get picked up on the higher-term timeframes, and favor the upside first and foremost. Again, I should denote that weekly for NASDAQ is potentially going to close as a bullish engulfing right here. Obviously, another couple days of trading left to go, but does certainly have it in the motion right now, but needs to be confirmed, obviously. Anyways, what else do we want to check out? Is this time for altcoin markets? Let's just go look at Bitcoin dominance, actually, because I ain't got time for that today. Okay, let's see. I'm not getting much from this chart. Let's see how the monthly closed, actually. How is that monthly looking? Nope, not the bi-monthly, sir. I just want the regular monthly. Show me the monthly. Ooh, we have a bit of reversal on the monthly. Yeah. Long term, I'd be looking for this to come down. We did not close on new highs. We had a chance last month. Did not take it. Ultimately, you have to be looking for some more downside on this one. So generally speaking, I'm going to be bullish on altcoins versus their Bitcoin pairing. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'll be bullish on their US dollar pairing, although that is certainly the market conditions right now. But we can just go look at like one really quick. How about Cardano? No. Fuck this one. Jesus Christ. Where's Ethereum, Bitcoin? This one, yeah, this one really does do a good job of representing the general altcoin market, and I am nothing but bullish on this chart right here. Over the next few months, very likely does come back up towards 6 million satoshis plus, maybe even up to 8 million satoshis actually over the next few months. But even on the daily right here, playing out the daily golden cross as we identified a couple weeks ago in middle of January, and as you can see, sometimes that TA fucking hocus pocus. Sometimes it actually works for a nice 53% gainer to the upside and not really looking like it wants to stop anytime soon, to be honest with you. Daily Stokes crossing back up right here. Daily RSI looking very good and healthy in the bullish control zone. Closing on new highs at the as well on this run. Yeah, I'm bullish on this. Looking for new highs on this one to be printed probably sooner rather than later. I mean, this one looks like it's actually going to overtake the 200 simple right now. We did hit our target from yesterday basically back at that area. And next major area is going to be, yeah, about 5.5 million satoshis. Looks pretty damn good, so I'd imagine most altcoins going to be following that trajectory as well. And the general crypto market gets to continue onwards and upwards to sexual locations. Anyways, what do we have over here? With character tickers SEC. Not really giving me much right now. Top side is showing 30, just below 39,000 bucks. This one obviously just getting the strong rising trend as it stands. I don't really. Trying to see. Okay, yes, the bottom side actually is getting my bottom side pivot, so that is good. Top side though, no, it's actually just showing that we're expanding in that direction right now, which is, well, obvious because the trend is that direction. So I wouldn't necessarily be looking at that as like a pivot point to the upside. I'd be looking at that as just as a potential target more than anything else, but not a pivot. To the downside, the pivot is in line with what I'm looking at over here as well. So that is good, very good confluence. Anyways, do you want to talk about anything else? I think that's it. Should we do a little bit of a wrap up here too? A little bit of a rappy wrap. All right, you know what? We'll do a wrap. Man. We'll do a wrap. The Bitcoin wrap. Let's wrap this bitch up. Although there actually won't be a Twitter video today. Okay, so first and foremost, Bitcoin, as always, want to reflect upon the strength in the accumulation distribution indicator once again, as the slope does retain its positive curvature, of which that does sit in the bias for the month of February as being more or less good. Also, on top of that, we do see that February is trending above the topside shoulder band as well, so higher term timeframes, aka the macro, is still more or less fine, and that is further supported by MACD histogram, of which we are continuing to increase on the histogram, not backing off, as you can see over here and over here, which typically does get major phase shifts in Bitcoin on the macro, especially when combined with what we see on the accumulation distribution indicator. Anytime that we've seen both of those in the same direction, that has been extremely major pivots on the market. Now, while the accumulation distribution indicator is losing a little bit of its curvature, still overall fine, and at some point, yes, it will turn down, absolutely. But I want to see it happen first before I change around my macro opinion, because that has been keeping me safe for the time being. Anyways, if we go down to the lower term timeframes over here on Bitcoin, what do we look at? Well, I'm looking at daily momentum oscillators, as we do see daily RSI is once again knocking on the door of the bullish control zone. Now, with that said, I typically do see these reads actually push back on the first attempt, probably does test back down to the exponential and then gives a legitimate try into there. But assuming that condition is met where we actually get a closure within that region, like fully and preferably, an open and closure actually, then yes, I'd be looking for at the very least a retest of pretty much the prior all-time highs. Now, there's a few ways to kind of get the next major move in Bitcoin here, some more aggressive than others, but I will overlay them all, at least in the way that I'll be looking at it right now. If we're using a daily, I would be looking at the Elon Musk high right here on last Friday, January 29th. And if Bitcoin does take out that high, just by taking above at 38,730 on BitMexico to be 100% direct, then yes, I'd very likely look at that as a continuation point. Extremely likely to test 40 to 41,000 bucks after that, 41,000 bucks after that. And is it likely to break out to new all-time highs after that as well? Yes, very likely, given the market dynamics, especially seen as Ethereum is in price discovery right now. The other way, a little bit more conservative, but and still a little bit more on the aggressive side as well, would be this one. This is like your Goldilocks right here at about 39,150. Any sort of a closure on new highs above this region, yes, I'd be looking at that as continuation. And for the extremely conservative people out there, 40,750 would be the continuation point as well. However, for myself, I actually think that a wick higher right here is good enough for me. Now, in the short term, I would be looking for a little bit of a pullback on Bitcoin, or at least I think it's possible to have a bit of a pullback on Bitcoin anywhere down around, anywhere down about 36,500 or 35,000 even. is completely fine. We do see momentum oscillators actually turning down as it's potentially as we speak right now, but actually no, because the 4 hour is comfortable $300 above it, or almost $400 above it right now. So fair enough. Technically no, as of the current moment in time. But if you do start to see all the lower term timeframes turn down in unison, your 4 hour, by the way, is 37.4. Your 3 hour is 37.8, your bi-hourly is 37.1, your hourly is 38.320. If all of those happen in unison, then yes, I would be looking for a bit of a pullback, probably down at around $36,000. Anywhere between there, between 36 and 35,000 bucks is fair game, and I would be looking at that as an opportunity first and foremost. The only way that I change around my short-term, medium-term opinions on Bitcoin is if they take out the breakout point from a couple days ago at 34,500. If that happens, I would look for another drive down towards about 31.5 to 32,000 bucks right here, and I would look at that once again as another opportunity. I do not get bearish on Bitcoin on the long-term macro, that is, until it actually breaks below this current low at about 30,500 or 30,600, or the 55 on the daily, whichever one happens first, as that would be a bit of a change of behavior. But for right now, looking more or less fine, and all higher term timeframes are, well, sideways and up essentially as we complete the accumulation. I think the 2-day also tells a story as well, as it does just have a fresh pop-up right here as long as we close above 33,000. So again, could very easily come back down, test the 10 simple, but I'll be looking at that as an opportunity. Right now, I think it's actually more important to be looking at Ethereum as the leader, and that kind of drives the biases for just about everything else. And as you can see on Ethereum right here, what do we have? Well, we do see that same sort of trending above the top side Toronto band on the monthly, obviously, as it does make new all-time highs. But if we go over here on the daily, we can get the more immediate trend, of which we have seen this formation breakout, this ascending triangle formation over here, break out to the upside successfully. Actually, where's my damn charts? Where's my damn charts? I'm trying to find exactly the one that I was using before. I think it was this one down here. I actually have 3 of them, in case you're wondering why I'm always doing this. Yeah, there we go. So we had an ascending triangle formation right here get resolved a couple days ago, of which that did have a measure move up to the 2-spot extension right here. So good confluence just below that $1,700 level. That target has been met, and I would be looking for this one to just kind of crawl its way up to 1,900 to 2,000 plus, as long as we are trending above the top side Toronto band. Keep in mind though, big event coming in on Monday, so I would be cautious with that, in better English. But this is accompanied by daily MACD crossing the upside, daily DMI plus being dominant, plus ADX strengthening, all these good things, and I'm essentially bullish on this, looking for new all-time highs towards those targets, as long as Ethereum is essentially trending above this level right here. If on the short-term time frames we come back down and take out 1,500 to the downside, I would change my opinion and look for another move back down to the bottom side of the range in like the mid $1,300 region. But for now, it looks more or less fine to me, and I would be generally boolah-ish. Yes, there will be short-term pullbacks on the low-term timeframes, absolutely, but things look more or less fine here. Anyways, airplane indicator about to get initiated in a few hours here. So with that said, I do want to wish you the best and the happiest. Take care, and until next time.